very favorite authors at Adweek. And we're going to talk a little further about maybe it be the paralysis of analysis, I think.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, good.
Death by metrics.
Death by metrics. Yeah,
Or KPI.
I was rereading that article that I posted along with this article on if your analytics aren't giving you the answers you want, maybe you need more analytics.
Maybe
Which
you
of
have to
course,
ask questions again.
yeah, which didn't seem to be the prescription.
Uh-huh.
It's like if you don't feel good after all these drugs, take more drugs.
Oh boy. But doctors do that for real.
I know. So I was rereading my article that I posted, and there's this problem that I don't think enough analysts address. Back in the 80s, we were all enamored with the idea that if you don't, you'll never control what you don't measure. And I think we flipped the logic around and felt that it entailed then if we measure everything, we will control it, which of course
That's one way of thinking.
doesn't follow at all, right? And so you and I spent a little time going back and forth, and I said, you can't predict the future with historical data. You can have educated guesses, but that's about as far as you get.
That's the limit of predictive analytics. Is it's only based on the data that you have in the past. So if something drastic happens, you'll be all off.
That's right. It's only the past. And we think because we can predict the flight of a cannonball or something, that we can predict marketing. And people don't understand that science works on an iterative process that generates an explanation for a phenomenon, and then over enough time gets a theory built that basically, if not explains a process, at least it defines it. And yet with human behavior, that's extremely elusive, right?
Of course. In economics, we say that all the time. Like, with all things being equal, this theory will hold. But when does that happen? When all the other things stay whole, doesn't happen. But with the human behavior, thank goodness that some people, or maybe a majority of people, are creatures of habits. So there's certain things we can predict, like, yeah, that guy is a bargain seeker. Now that's not going to change overnight.
That's a really good variable that almost nobody calculates.
I do that all the time with every
I do too. We did.
Yeah.
we found out why, and some people don't buy anything off price. They like
exactly. Unless there's a free shipping or 10% discount, they will not budge.
Right. So why are you sending your sale catalog to those people? Exactly. And why are you bothering with your full price catalog to the bargain hunters?
Exactly. But then the opposite of that is what about somebody's a cutting edge, say early adopter or bragger? Like, you know what? I have the latest and the best phone in the world type of thing, and he doesn't care for the discount. But if you throw the discount at him, he may take it.
Oh, of course. Why not?
Being that such personality or the affinity type of things may stay on hold for a while. A good example of that, but if it's a product affinity, it may or may not work. Because I used to be an avid golfer, and I stopped playing golf about 7 years ago. So now, if somebody did not update my data, they may think that I'm still a golfer.
Right.
I'm not.
Well, the other thing is Merit, which is like sales incentives. They would send out little catalogs and stuff. They wanted to hire me to predict what gift people would redeem with the points.
Oh, okay.
And I said, okay, let's just hypothetically, let's say you knew I was a golfer. You have golf clubs in that redemption thing, right?
Sure.
Am I more or less likely to redeem golf clubs if I'm a golfer?
That's tricky because if you're an avid golfer, you will have very specific brand that you want that you will probably not redeem some free golf clubs on.
Exactly. Your
Oh, yeah.
interest could work exactly the opposite of what everybody
Sometimes.
says. You
That's
know, if
right.
I'm an avid musician or if I'm an avid golfer, I'm not going to, get a free set of golf clubs, not for me. I might get
Yeah,
them for my kids,
that's right.
but
Although there's no beginner's guitar, by the way.
what?
But that there's no beginner's guitar. For example, a guitar that's in tune is a guitar in tune. There's no
Yeah.
beginner's guitar that is just cheaper.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a good one. But
Well,
you're right. I mean,
yeah, but the
some,
action is a lot of times
yeah,
stiffer on the,
of course, of course. But what I mean is, all those things that we predict, and the way I see the world is that, in fact, when I talk to my clients, I make sure that, you know what, this is a guesswork, educated guess based on numbers, but it's not 100% true. So when you
Right.
use it, probably you should say, okay, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you would like this product. Can we give them a gentle nudge instead of knowing that, I mean, pretending that you know what they want? So that way, one, it is not offensive, it's more innocuous that way. Two, people that get less scared about, oh my God, how much do they know about me? But
Right.
we don't want to raise that flag.
Right. Like Amazon always says, people who bought this also bought.
Yeah.
There's no implication that they know you at all. And in fact, they don't. I mean, they don't because they know all this stuff. I mean, they know a lot,
That's
but
right.
they don't. I can't predict what I'm going to want next. I mean, it's
And also it's a game of probability. And a lot of times, by the way, when I buy a mouse, this is for real life story. I bought this mouse from Amazon.com.
okay.
And then guess what? For the next 2 weeks, they showed me nothing but mice. I'm like, hey guy, you're way off on this thing.
I
Can you
don't.
do
I don't.
suppression work or something? I
I
mean,
only
come
do
on.
private browsers on Amazon. I don't even. I
Oh, you
don't even
do?
want them to know who I am.
Actually, I do because I guess I'm a believer of a personalization even when I'm the subject.
Well, that's
But
true. We want to see what they
I want to
do.
be surprised. It's
But
like, for example, I let everything about myself known to Facebook
no,
just to
right?
see if their ads got more personal.
Yeah, and
And I'm thinking, no, in the name of personalization, they are annoying me personally, really. That's what
yeah,
they're doing.
I I I uh, I know how Amazon actually built that first product recommendation engine.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yes.
Yeah, what they did was they took when an item first launched,
Uh-huh.
they would look for when somebody bought it and another item,
Oh, sure.
and they had
Like,
five
so, yeah.
buckets,
Mm-hmm.
just 5 buckets
Just
of
five.
whatever the first 5 items were that were bought
Uh-huh.
along with that item, and they wouldn't even. They would just leave it alone.
Sure, and then rank them, and
And
top
it could
five will
be,
win. Yeah,
no, they
sure.
didn't even worry about it.
They didn't do that?
Yeah, that was later. Later they
Oh,
said,
I
well,
see.
what's the most common item that's bought with this?
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's what I mean. Like
no,
most
but at
common
first they
combinations.
didn't.
They
They didn't
didn't do
even,
that?
no, they didn't bother. They just said, people who bought this also bought that. And they just took
That's
the
it.
first 5 instances and it was 0 computing power.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, sometimes, you don't have to be a mathematician to come up with those rules.
Can
If it
you
works,
imagine
it
how much
works.
cheaper it is to build that?
Well, you can improve upon certain things, yes. But yes, by the way, it's not just cheaper. And then sometimes I say this to a lot of my clients that one, not all questions deserve modeling. Because you got to look at the size of the universe. It's like if you're so small, just make up some rules and get on with it. I say that a lot about B2B market like that. Because how many sales lead do you have? Do you really need a lead scoring system? Just call whatever, right? I'll give you some variables to rank by, but that's it. And two, models, like you said, is a predictor based on the past behavior. Sometimes you have to think out of the box. So even when you hire a modeler, and I'm doing that with one of my clients right now, these guys set up a new type of, I cannot even say what a product that is, so let's just say new product, okay?
Okay.
Which is similar to the past product, but not exactly the same. So the model will not work. So we found two of the similar products, built two models and tested. But at the same time, we made new segments of people based on profiles and the little number of the buyers that we had, analyzed them and made up some rules. And we're going to test like 4 or 5 cells like that in the upcoming mailing next week. Because the model, we have admitted that, you know what, when something is totally new, there's a limit to it. Let's not pretend that we can predict all those things. Now, if something's winner, and by the way, I love the fact that we're doing 5-cell tests, because if you do 1 or 2 and that fails, there's nothing to talk about. But when you try 5 things, all hypotheses, right?
Well,
Then
one of
something
the
will work,
things,
something will not work. You know, have something.
yeah,
to
one
talk.
of the things that I've done is because I work mostly with catalog companies,
Right.
is we'll do like a 4-page signature, just a really small little insert, like right at the middle of the catalog, and show those items to some of the people
Uh,
and see who buys it, and then we can model after that. It's not a great model
exactly.
because we don't send it to everybody usually, although you
Mhm.
can, because it's not very expensive to do that. Just do the ride along. You can even blow in a postcard on a unique item, and it costs nothing.
Sure. I
Yeah.
love the idea of trying something, get the responders, and get to the real response model. That,
Yeah, and
yeah.
sometimes, like, we introduced we worked our longest running client was Baseball Express, and
Oh,
they sold
nice.
baseball equipment.
Uh-huh.
And they, along the way somewhere, they decided they wanted to put out a girls fast pitch softball catalog.
Mm.
So we said, well, do you have any items that are pretty likely to be bought by or for girls?
Mm.
And they said, yeah, we got a couple. We got a batting helmet with a hole in the back for the ponytail.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And we have a pink bat and pink batting gloves
Nice.
or something. There was like only 3 or 4, but we said, okay,
Yeah.
well, let's take all of those. Let's take those items. We'll
Mm-hmm.
create a variable called girl items or something, and we'll see who buys those and see if we can find other people like that in
Mm.
the we didn't do the gender thing because half the time that's wrong anyway, and especially if it's your dad buying it for your, I had 3 daughters playing baseball, so
Exactly.
I would be the customer, and what good is that, but
Exactly.
I would be interested in it, and so we profiled those items geodemographically, which also picked up maybe there's a lot more. We did find that there were certain kinds of baseball were played in different zip codes a lot
I see.
differently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we
Interesting.
created a
Isn't
pro.
baseball no matter where you
No,
go?
no, we created a.
Really?
But South Korea is
Huh.
good for baseball, isn't
There,
it?
yeah, I grew up with baseball. Yes,
Yeah,
in
and
Southern.
so anyway, we could profile a zip code's propensity to be, boys fast pitch or girls fast pitch, or
Interesting.
like Chicago has this weird kind of softball that they play with a big
Mm.
huge ball and nobody wears baseball gloves.
Oh,
It's
I think I've seen it in
it's
one
like
of those
only played in
Chicago movies.
Chicago, I think. But anyway, we built all kinds of screwy variables for these people, and
Mhm.
it turned out it actually worked. Most of it worked. It's really funny.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you don't know until you try. And I guess that's no matter where I go, I always ask that question. Tell us, just don't give us just build this model or build that model or create this rule or that. Can I hear about what you really want to do?
Yeah.
What is your goal anyway? You want to sell particular products to certain regions or a group of people, or you just want to expand your market space or your footprint, or have some longevity in your membership? Or what are you trying to do? Because all these statements I call problem statements require a different kind of data. For example, if somebody wants to hold back all these people who are waning away, well, you probably need to have a lot of time series variable to predict that timing of the quitting, right?
It's
Or
hard.
if you just wanna, it is hard. And
It's
I wanna
really
know about
hard.
that before we get into the whole database building. That, oh, well, you needed a time series variable. We didn't build it because you didn't tell us the prediction of the churn is not important. You didn't tell us that. So, so that type of a problem statement always helps, I think. That sometimes, whether you may have 1,000 variables, but to answer certain questions, it's like, why aren't they coming for the second time? Let's do the one-time buyer analysis, for example. Well, then you don't need to carry the whole baggage of past history. Just go at the people who just bought once and understand them, and maybe you want to append some data to these people and whatnot. But you don't have to carry the whole mountain to answer a few questions. So
Yeah.
my goal is always, let's answer more questions than less, and
Yeah.
keep doing it. That becomes a process. That process requires automation, maybe later in the future if you do it enough, right? And that's how you grow, not, oh, let's just build everything. It doesn't quite work. And I blame the consultants who met them first. Like, who did you talk to in the beginning? How could you? That's like saying that, you know what, I just got into a company, I just assumed this role, and you know what, I'm gonna solve every problem that you have. You know what, that guy's not gonna last.
No, and there's no sense of priority. I
No.
I got asked by a fishing company. They
Uh-huh.
said they would send you a book. It was a membership thing. They would send you a book about a particular species, and
Oh.
they sent me a book about a particular species that I hate fishing for. It's the most boring fishing in the world, I think. And they
Mhm.
said, "Well, why don't you build a model, by zip code to tell us what book to send to people?" And I said,
Interesting.
"Well, let's see. In my zip code, my neighbor at the end of the driveway likes to go to uh, likes to go to Lake Ontario, which is
Hmm.
hundreds of miles away, and fish for this kind of fish you think I want to fish for. My other neighbor down the street, he likes to go to Costa Rica and fish on the western coast of Costa Rica for
Hmm.
sport fishing, deep sea fishing. And my favorite is along the docks in Florida, on the west side of Florida, for that particular kind of fish. And I said, there's no sense to this. We have a pretty prosperous zip code. We can go anywhere we want for
Right.
whatever kind of fish we want. Here's an idea. When they join your club, why don't you send them a postcard and say, what kind of fish do you like to fish for?
Just ask. Yes, I had a similar experience with one of the supermarket chains, and we did a whole area study and all this like propensity to do what, and with all that. And then at the end of the day, it's like, we don't understand why some people drive 60 miles to our store from their location. Like, first of all, we're in a prediction business for who would do what, right? Or what would they do? That's sort of relatively simpler, right? Now, if you ask me when they're gonna do things, yeah, the
Oh,
guy is very prone to have a cruise ship trip, but when is that gonna be? I don't know. It could be next summer, it could be this Thanksgiving, I don't know, right? It's hard to do. The
yeah.
hardest thing to predict, and I told him, is why. We don't get to know why a lot of
Oh,
times.
we don't get to know.
We
We
don't,
don't even know why.
I don't even know
Branding is
why
all
I.
about impulse buys, right?
Exactly. Now, on a strategic level, though, I heard a study. This was done in Korea, by the way, by a big manufacturer of these things. That this company built a really small washer and dryer set to target single people. Like, yeah, well, it's a single family household, so maybe he doesn't have any big load of washing. Wrong.
They
These single people do not want to do laundry, so their load is quite large.
Right. Yeah, we throw it all in, and I didn't know to separate colors until I got married.
Oh, me too. It's like scroll anyway. So the answer is yeah, sometimes when you in a strategic planning like that, then you have to answer why, right? But when you try to sell one-on-one to find the target for your product or service, let's not ask why. Let's talk about who and when, not even when maybe, who and what, and be good at it. And sometimes, and most times, it will work, and you will sell more than you used to. That's the whole game. It's not about understanding everything about that
Right.
person's motivation.
And also, I mean, I've had my biggest successes probably have come when I figured out who wasn't in the market.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, you can.
Yes. Negative.
It's
Exactly.
way easier to figure out who isn't going to buy a Lexus, than who is, right? Uh,
Yes, of course.
we can rule people out and say, well, they just can't afford it.
I want to
Just
do both actually. Filter the obvious non-buyers.
yeah,
But the example that I use all the time is that do you really believe that the difference between a Mercedes buyer and a Lexus buyer are income? No. You
no,
need a model. You
no,
need a model
yeah,
or preference type of affinity stuff. And how do you do it? We have enough empirical data. We can even go to Siemens or whatever the panel data that we have and just compare those two buyers. Like maybe while at it, Toyota, Lexus, Hyundai, Audi, just compare them all. You can do those things, but that's what I mean. I don't like post select too much when my customer try to do that. I say, yeah, you're gonna ruin the model that we just built. But I like your idea about pre-select. Let's filter out and let's not be selective here.
yeah.
When I used to do,
Disqualification is way easier than
oh
qualification,
my God,
and you
yes.
never hear anybody say that. They're all, oh, we'll do look-alike modeling, and we'll find it's just
No, no,
almost never
pre-omission is
works.
not only that. I used to help out this male apparel company in my eye behavior days, and they wanted to do the gender select. I said, you know what? I don't like the word gender select because I'll tell you why. Now, name like Aisha. If you put that name into your database, would the database know that she's female? I don't think so. You have a lot of unknowns. So you're gonna ignore the unknowns by selecting male only. Why don't we, okay, if you're so insisting that you wanna do something, let's suppress obvious female value. Then build a model, and maybe we'll find more propensity. But let's not get into a habit of just selecting things. And when you do the omission, people are more careful about it too. It's like, you know what, let me just omit very obvious non-buyers. You don't go crazy with that such rules. And then let the math work the way out in that universe of this pre-select. And then build a model again.
Well, you'll like this one. I
Yeah.
did work for a record company,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me they had a little catalog, and but they said, we don't care if it makes any money because we sell most of our CD. This was back to CDs, we sell most of our
Yeah.
CDs at retail. So we just want to drive traffic. We just want to make people more aware of our assortment of artists. And they actually bound in a CD sampler in the little catalog.
Nice.
And so the first question I asked him was, did you ever think, because it was thick enough, you couldn't tell there was a CD in it. Did you ever think of putting a sticker on there saying free CD enclosed, music CD enclosed, or sampler CD?
Brilliant.
And they said, well, we thought about it, but we didn't want to do it because we thought people might steal them. And I said, you mean
Wait,
like
you're trying to spread the words anyway.
they're giving it away free and they're afraid that people will steal them. I said, you mean like
Oh
people who
my.
like to listen to music?
Oh my God,
Only
that's
people
so
who want to
funny.
listen to music would steal them.
There's like a takeaway brochure in any
Yeah.
store. It's
Yeah, I
free for
know,
that
absolutely.
reason.
So then they said, they said, well, and we know from our research that our customers are 35 to 55, high income, high education male.
How did
But
they
we
come up with that?
but we rent, I don't know, I didn't ask, but they said
It's
we rent
okay.
those lists and we get lousy, terrible results. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
And you try not to laugh in their face. It's like, well, okay, so there's 14 million of those just out of the box. Maybe they don't like your music, or maybe they don't even know about
Oh
your music.
my.
I
Oh.
said, how many of these little CD hummers do you get rid of in a year? And they said, oh, 4 million. I said, you ever think of putting a little card in there and say, we have a free catalog with a sample that are enclosed, They got 600,000 requests for catalog, and
Oh
they got
my.
a 15% response, 90,000 new direct to consumer buyers.
Wow. That's pretty
No
cool.
modeling involved.
And that's what I mean. It's not always about math. It's about what you say, how you match what they want with your offers
Right.
or your creative.
I just wrapped up an incredible conversation with Stephen Yu. We we talked for 2 hours, so I'm not sure how I'll pour this into my editor and see what happens. But it was just, it's so fun to talk with people that have real experience handling data and trying to make incremental benefit to the clients. We just had a super time, and I just think the world of Stephen. So I hope you enjoyed this show. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Boy, on this one, you're getting some real top-notch material from Stephen. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.